Think you know JavaScript functions? Most developers stumble on closures and this binding during actual exams today. We're putting your skills to the ultimate test. In this video, we will cover JavaScript functions practice questions, full certification prep quiz. Master JavaScript functions with this comprehensive practice exam. This video features 30 carefully curated multiple choice questions, MCQs, covering everything from basic syntax to advanced functional programming concepts. In this video, we cover 30 high-level JavaScript function practice questions designed to mimic real-world certification exams. We'll dive deep into scopes, arrow functions, callbacks, and much more. Before we begin, make sure to grab a notebook. If you find these questions helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more coding deep dives. Which of the following is the correct syntax for a function declaration in JavaScript? Option A. Var my function equals function, opening curly bracket, closing curly bracket. Option B. Function my function, opening curly bracket, closing curly bracket. Option C. My function, function, opening curly bracket, closing curly bracket. Option D. Function equals my function, opening curly bracket, closing curly bracket. The correct answer is B. A function declaration starts with the function keyword, followed by the name of the function, and then parentheses. Option A is a function expression, where a function is assigned to a variable. Option B is the standard declarative form which is hoisted to the top of its scope during execution. Option C is object property syntax. And option D is syntactically incorrect because the assignment operator cannot follow the function keyword in this manner. How do arrow functions handle the this keyword compared to regular functions? Option A. Arrow functions have their own this context. Option B. Arrow functions bind this to the global object. Option C. Arrow functions inherit this from the lexical scope. Option D. Arrow functions cannot use the this keyword. The correct answer is C. Regular functions define their own this value based on how the function is called, the invocation context. In contrast, arrow functions do not have their own this binding. Instead, they capture the this value of the enclosing lexical context in which they were defined. This makes them particularly useful for callbacks and methods within classes where you want to maintain the context of the parent object. What is a closure in JavaScript? Option A. A function that is defined inside another function and has access to its outer variables. Option B. A method used to close a database connection. Option C. A way to prevent variables from being garbage collected. Option D. The process of ending a loop early. The correct answer is A. A closure is created when an inner function is defined within an outer function, allowing the inner function to access the scope of the outer function even after the outer function has finished executing. This happens because JavaScript functions maintain a reference to their lexical environment. Closures are powerful for data encapsulation, creating private variables, and maintaining state in functional programming. Which type of function can be called before it is defined in the code? Option A. Function expression. Option B. Arrow function. Option C. Function declaration. Option D. Anonymous function. The correct answer is C. Function declarations are hoisted by the JavaScript engine, meaning the entire function definition is moved to the top of the current scope before the code is executed. This allows you to invoke the function earlier in the script. Function expressions, including arrow functions assigned to variables, are not hoisted in the same way. The variable name is hoisted, but its value, the function, remains undefined until the line of assignment is reached. What is the purpose of the rest parameter, args, in a function definition? Option A. To reset the function to its initial state. Option B. To allow a function to accept an indefinite number of arguments as an array. Option C. To spread an array into individual elements. Option D. To define a default value for a parameter. The correct answer is B. The rest parameter syntax allows a function to accept an indefinite number of arguments as an array. This is useful when you don't know how many arguments will be passed to the function. It must be the last parameter in the function signature. While the spread operator looks identical, it is used during function calls to expand an array into individual arguments, whereas rest is used in function definitions to collect arguments into an array. What is an anonymous function? Option A. A function that has no name. Option B. A function that cannot be accessed. Option C. A function with a hidden identity. Option D. A function that runs only once. The correct answer is A. An anonymous function is simply a function without a specified name. They are often used as arguments to other functions, callbacks, or assigned to variables. Function expressions. Since they lack a name in the stack trace, they can be harder to debug than named functions, but they provide a concise way to define logic on the fly without cluttering the namespace. What does IIFE stand for? Option A. Internal iterative function execution. Option B. Immediately invoked function expression. Option C. Instant inline function evaluation. Option D. Integrated inter-function exchange. The correct answer is B. IIFE stands for Immediately Invoked Function Expression. It is a design pattern in JavaScript where a function is defined and executed immediately. The syntax involves wrapping the function in parentheses followed by an additional set of parentheses to invoke it. Function. Opening curly bracket ... Closing curly bracket. This is primarily used to create a private scope and avoid polluting the global namespace. What defines a higher-order function in JavaScript? Option A. A function that returns a Boolean value. Option B. A function that operates on other functions, either by taking them as arguments or by returning them. Option C. A function that is defined in the global scope. Option D. A function that uses the async keyword. The correct answer is B. Higher-order functions are a core concept in functional programming. In JavaScript, functions are first-class citizens, meaning they can be treated like any other variable. A higher-order function is any function that either takes one or more functions as arguments, like map, filter, or reduce, or returns a function as its result. This allows for powerful abstractions and code reuse. In ES6, what happens if you call a function that has a default parameter without passing an argument for it? Option A. The parameter becomes null. Option B. The parameter becomes undefined. Option C. The parameter uses the assigned default value. Option D. The function throws a reference error. The correct answer is C. ES6 introduced default function parameters. If a value is not provided for a parameter when the function is called, or if undefined is explicitly passed, the parameter will take on the default value specified in the function signature. E.g., function a equals 10, opening curly bracket, closing curly bracket. If null is passed, it is considered a valid value, and the default will not be used. What is a callback function? Option A. A function that calls itself recursively. Option B. A function passed into another function as an argument to be executed later. Option C. A function that resides in the browser's history. Option D. A function used to go back to a previous execution state. The correct answer is B. A callback function is a function that is passed as an argument to another function and is intended to be called back or executed at a specific time, such as after an asynchronous operation completes or a user event occurs. Common examples include event listeners, set timeout, and array methods like forEach. What is lexical scope in JavaScript functions? Option A. Scope determined at runtime based on the call stack. Option B. Scope determined by the physical placement of variables and blocks in the source code. Option C. The ability to change scope using the with keyword. Option D. A scope that only exists inside loops. The correct answer is B. Lexical scope, also known as static scope, means that the accessibility of variables is determined by where those variables are declared. Within the nested function scopes, inner functions have access to the variables of their outer parent scopes. This scope is fixed at the time of code writing, author time, rather than at runtime based on how the function is invoked. What is required to prevent an infinite loop in a recursive function? Option A. A global counter. Option B. A base case. Option C. A break statement. Option D. An if-else statement in the global scope. The correct answer is B. A recursive function is one that calls itself. To prevent the function from calling itself forever and causing a stack overflow error, it must have a base case. A base case is a specific condition under which the function returns a value without making a further recursive call, effectively terminating the recursion chain. What is the difference between call and apply? Option A. Call takes arguments individually. Apply takes arguments as an array. Option B. Apply takes arguments individually. Call takes arguments as an array. Option C. Call is for arrow functions. Apply is for regular functions. Option D. There is no difference. They are aliases. The correct answer is A. Both call and apply are methods used to invoke a function with a specific this context. The primary difference lies in how they handle additional arguments. Call expects arguments to be passed individually, e.g., func call this 1, 2, 3, while apply expects them as a single array or array-like object, e.g., func apply this 1, 2, 3. This makes apply useful when working with dynamic lists of arguments. What does the bind method return? Option A. The result of the function execution. Option B. A new function with a fixed this context. Option C. A Boolean indicating if binding was successful. Option D. The original function object. The correct answer is B. The bind method creates a new function that, when called, has its this keyword set to the provided value, with a given sequence of arguments preceding any provided when the new function is called. Unlike call or apply, bind does not immediately execute the function. It returns a copy of the function with the bound context for future use. Which of the following is not a feature of arrow functions? Option A. Implicit return for single-line bodies. Option B. Lack of an arguments object. Option C. Ability to be used as a constructor with new. Option D. Lexical, this binding. The correct answer is C. Arrow functions cannot be used as constructors. If you try to use the new keyword with an arrow function, JavaScript will throw a type error. This is because arrow functions lack a construct method and do not have a prototype property. Additionally, they do not have their own arguments object, though you can use REST parameters. And they use lexical this. What is the default return value of a function that does not have a return statement? Option A, null. Option B, 0. Option C, undefined. Option D, void. The correct answer is C. In JavaScript, if a function finishes execution without reaching a return statement, or reaches a return statement with no expression, e.g., return single quote, it implicitly returns the value undefined. This is the standard behavior for all functions that are intended to perform an action rather than compute a value. What is a pure function in JavaScript? Option A. A function that only uses local variables. Option B. A function that always produces the same output for the same input and has no side effects. Option C. A function that is defined without using the function keyword. Option D. A function that belongs to the global window object. The correct answer is B. A pure function is a fundamental concept in functional programming. It has two main properties. 1. It is deterministic. It always returns the same result given the same arguments. 2. It has no side effects. It doesn't modify external variables, log to the console, or change the state of the application. This makes pure functions easier to test, debug, and reason about. In a regular function, what is the arguments object? Option A. A true array of all parameters. Option B. An array-like object containing all arguments passed to the function. Option C. A string containing all argument names. Option D. An object containing only the named parameters. The correct answer is B. The arguments object is an array-like object available within all non-arrow functions. It contains the values of the arguments passed to that function, while it has a length property and indexed elements, e.g., arguments 0. It is not a real array and does not have built-in methods like map or filter. Modern JavaScript prefers the use of REST parameters, args, which are real arrays. When using a function as a constructor with new, what does this refer to? Option A. The global object. Option B. The newly created instance object. Option C. The function itself. Option D. Nothing. It's undefined. The correct answer is B. When a function is invoked with the new keyword, several things happen. A new empty object is created. The function's this context is bound to that new object. The new object's prototype is linked to the function's prototype, and the function implicitly returns the new object, unless it explicitly returns a different object. What does it mean that functions are first-class citizens in JavaScript? Option A. They are the most important part of the language. Option B. They can be stored in variables, passed as arguments, and returned from other functions. Option C. They are executed before any other code. Option D. They can only be defined in the main script file. The correct answer is B. JavaScript treats functions as first-class citizens, or first-class objects. This means functions are just another type of value. You can assign them to variables, store them in objects or arrays, pass them as arguments to other functions, callbacks, and even return them from other functions. This flexibility is what enables functional programming patterns in JS. What is function currying? Option A. Converting a function that takes multiple arguments into a sequence of functions that each take a single argument. Option B. The process of speeding up a function's execution. Option C. A way to combine two strings inside a function. Option D. Removing the parameters from a function definition. The correct answer is A. Currying is a transformation of functions that translates a function from callable as f, a, b, c, into callable as f, a, b, c. It doesn't call a function. It just transforms it. This is useful for creating specialized versions of a general function by pre-filling some of the arguments, a technique known as partial application. What does an async function always return? Option A, a boolean. Option B, a promise. Option C, the raw data from the API. Option D, nothing. The correct answer is B. Any function marked with the async keyword will always return a promise. If the function returns a value, the promise will be resolved with that value. If the function throws an error, the promise will be rejected with that error. This allows you to use await within the function to handle asynchronous logic in a synchronous looking style. How do you define a generator function in JavaScript? Option A. Function generator. Opening curly bracket, closing curly bracket. Option B. Function generator. Opening curly bracket, closing curly bracket. Option C. Async function generator. Opening curly bracket, closing curly bracket. Option D. New generator. The correct answer is B. Generator functions are written using the function asterisk syntax. The asterisk can be after the function keyword or before the function name. When called, they do not execute their code immediately. Instead, they return a generator object, which is an iterator. Generators use the yield keyword to pause and resume execution, allowing for lazy evaluation of sequences. Variables declared with var inside a function are: Option A. Global variables. Option B. Blocks scoped. Option C. Function scoped. Option D. Available outside the function. The correct answer is C. Variables declared with var are function scoped, meaning they are accessible throughout the entire function they are declared in. but not outside of it. This is different from let and const, which are block scoped, accessible only within the specific block where they are defined, like in an if statement or for loop. In a method of an object, what does this usually refer to? Option A, the window object. Option B, the method itself. Option C, the object that owns the method. Option D, the script execution context. The correct answer is C. When a function is called as a method of an object, e.g., my obj, my method, this refers to the object that the method is called on. My obj. This allows the method to access and modify other properties in methods defined on that same object. However, this binding can be lost if the method is assigned to a variable and called as a plain function. What is variable shadowing in the context of functions? Option A, hiding a function's logic using encryption. Option B, when a variable declared inside a function has the same name as a variable in an outer scope. Option C, using a variable before it is declared. Option D, a bug where variables disappear from memory. The correct answer is B. Variable shadowing occurs when a variable declared within a certain scope, like a function, has the same name as a variable in an outer scope. In this case, the inner variable shadows or hides the outer variable within the inner scope. References to the name will point to the inner variable, making the outer variable inaccessible within that function. What is the primary benefit of memoization in functions? Option A, it makes functions more secure. Option B, it reduces code length. Option C, it improves performance by caching the results of expensive function calls. Option D, it allows functions to run in the background. The correct answer is C. Memoization is an optimization technique used primarily to speed up computer programs by storing the results of expensive function calls and returning the cached result when the same inputs occur. Again, it is commonly used in recursive functions, like calculating Fibonacci numbers, to avoid redundant calculations and significantly improve execution time. What is a named function expression? Option A, a function declaration with a name. Option B, a function assigned to a variable that also has its own internal name. Option C, a function that is named by the browser automatically. Option D, a global function with a name. The correct answer is B. A named function expression, NFE, is a function expression where the function has a name, like const my var equals function my internal name, opening curly bracket ... closing curly bracket. The name my internal name is only accessible inside the function's own scope. It is useful for recursion, so the function can call itself, and for better stack traces during debugging. What happens if a recursive function calls itself too many times without hitting a base case? Option A, the computer reboots. Option B, the browser crashes immediately. Option C, a maximum call stack size exceeded, error is thrown. Option D, the function returns null. The correct answer is C. Every time a function is called, a new frame is added to the call stack. If a function calls itself recursively without stopping, the stack continues to grow until it exceeds the memory limit allocated by the JavaScript engine. At this point, The engine throws a range error. Maximum call stack size exceeded. In strict mode, what is the value of this in a regular function call, not as a method? Option A, the window object. Option B, undefined. Option C, null. Option D, the function object itself. The correct answer is B. In non-strict mode, if a function is called without a specific owner, like a simple function call func, this defaults to the global object window in browsers. However, in strict mode, use strict. JavaScript sets this to undefined to prevent accidental modifications to the global object, promoting safer coding practices. That wraps up our 30-question deep dive into JavaScript functions. How many did you get right? Let us know your score in the comments. If you want to master these concepts further and earn your certification, click the link in the description for the full course. For the full practice exam and certification prep, check the link in the description below.